Hey guys, good afternoon. Super glad to be with you today. Jacob and I are doing a little sermon recap, trying to go for 10 questions in 3 minutes. So let's see how we do.
Yep. What was the point of the sermon this past week?
Yeah, great question. Jesus is not obligated to solve all of my problems.
Okay. And what was the story?
Yeah, so what's happening in the moment? We're in the Gospel of John, and we've been looking at John chapter 6. So it begins with Jesus feeding the 5,000, an incredible miracle. And we watched him miraculously bring up the loaves and the fish and multiply it. Then he sent his disciples, and they went to the sea, and there was a storm at the sea, and Jesus stilled the storm and taught them much through it. So now several days have passed, and they're actually in a synagogue in Capernaum. And Jesus is now teaching on the miracles that he's given. And these are some of the questions that come up.
Sure. So in all of that, why were the people hurt?
Yeah, I think the people were hurt because Jesus left and they didn't know where he was going. So they had to find out where he was going. They came to him and they're like, Jesus, where did you go? We didn't even know that you had left. And Jesus ends up communicating to them that he had gone there, and then they began this conversation.
Okay. And then, so to that, how did Jesus respond?
Yeah, so the people were a little bit hurt because they felt like Jesus was not into them. I use the illustration of the song that he's just not that into you. And I think Jesus turned the tables and showed them that it really wasn't Jesus that wasn't into them. It was the crowd that wasn't into Jesus. They were simply into Jesus for what he could do for them.
Okay, so then they kind of learn a little bit like what it means to believe in Jesus then? And so how can we pull from that as well?
Right, yeah, so Jesus says, they're like, well, what should we do then?
Yeah.
And Jesus says, believe in me. And, what does it mean to believe in Jesus? It means to accept him as the Messiah, as God in the flesh, as who he is. And so in believing him, we put our faith in him and not ourselves.
Yeah, but it seemed like the people demanded more evidence. Why is that?
Yeah, I think it's similar to today. We keep asking him for, if you can just show me this or prove this to me. And so the people were like, well, you want me to believe in you? Well, Moses gave manna in the wilderness every day for 40 years.
Yeah,
and
that's
and
evidence.
And you did it one time. So give us some more food. They were prodding him on.
Yeah. So how is accepting Jesus as the bread of life, the manna, how is that different from eating manna as far as Moses was concerned?
Yeah, Jesus brought up a point, and Jesus said that the manna that Moses gave you, you ate, and they died in the wilderness. But the bread of life, and Jesus says, I am the bread of life, will last for eternity.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. That's deep.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
What is one thing you hope people take away from this sermon?
Yeah. Jesus does not exist to solve my problems. Sometimes he can help. He can give us peace and fulfillment and joy in this life. He can give us hope. But Jesus exists so that we believe in him and we place our faith in him for our eternal life.
Yeah, that's kind of the basis of it all, I suppose, isn't it?
It is. It's the gospel. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. Thanks for recapping last week and walking us through it just a little bit more. Next week, I know there's something really exciting going on here at the church. What is it?
Yes. So we are doing something called Story of the Soul. Okay. And we will take poetry, music, and a movie clip and show everybody this question that comes out of our heart. And that question is, am I meant for something more? And so by showing this, we'll introduce the pieces, and then we'll have discussion groups. It'll be like a coffee shop in the church. And then close up at the end by talking about how Jesus can answer that question of, am I made for something more? I hope it's something that you come to, and I hope it's something that you invite a guest to join you with. It'll be an open time. It'll be good for people who have not been to church and don't understand what church is about. It'll be more conversational. I think it'll be a great Sunday, and I hope that you can come.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And we'll still have the live stream. We're going to take a stab at something a little different maybe, and that should be fun. Thanks for tuning in, and come back next week. We'll do the same sort of thing.
Absolutely. Thank you.